I have a lot of questions about this bill that's before us. First, I want to thank the Budget Committee and the Budget Chair for having a great hearing last week on this issue. And as the Senator from Orange County noted, a lot of questions were raised in that hearing. And I was pleased that at the conclusion that it became just an informational hearing. We didn't even take a vote. And I thought that the matter was going to be put aside for a more thoughtful reflection on what was being proposed, but obviously the bill before us today is now, it is what it is. So I want to offer some observations, some of which that I offered to the committee last week. First, it's worth noting that Governor Brown has probably worked harder than anyone in this building in dealing with our unfunded pension liability. You know, we sit after this great economic expansion, the last 6, 7 years, we sit with a CalPERS pension program that's only 64% funded. And so his attention to this issue and his efforts to try to improve it are worth praise and appreciation. And certainly, if you look back over the last 4 or 5 years, he's engaged in a whole host of activities and changes to try to deal with that problem. Together with the legislature, the retirement age has been raised for all public employees. The compensation level that's provided at retirement has been lowered for all public employees. A lot of the spiking activities and abuses that have been put in place have been reversed. And there's many other changes that the governor, together with the legislature, have implemented that, again, are important. But this proposal that's before us today, and it's worth noting that it was only presented about 6 weeks ago in the May revision. So a serious policy change proposed as a budget trailer bill. And it has not provided a great deal of time for the study and review that I think that the proposal requires. In fact, the legislative analysts did come out with a report a few days ago on this proposal. And if I have permission to read from the presiding officer, I'd like to share some of their thoughts.
Without objection.
So what the analysts said in their report that they provided to us, as I said just a few days ago, it's, quote, "The administration has not carefully considered its implications. The administration is asking the legislature to approve a large commitment of public resources without careful analysis. The administration claims the proposal will save the state $11 billion without seriously analyzing the probability this level of savings will actually emerge over time using standard actuarial estimating techniques. The Department of Finance has conducted no review or analysis to determine how many of the state's special funds will have difficulty making loan repayments under the proposal. Instead, the administration's plans to conduct this analysis after the legislature has approved the loan, after this bill has been enacted, is what the analysts said they're going to do the analysis that's required. Apparently, quote, again, quoting, apparently the administration has not sought a fiduciary council opinion to determine if this large novel transaction meets the PMIB fiduciary duties. So no legal opinion saying that what's being provided in this bill is even legal and allowable. Quote again, neither has there been, as best we can tell, a period for review and comment on the proposal by local governments with funds in the LAIF. That's the pooled money fund that this $6 billion is proposed to come from. And finally, the analyst says, the administration has not published legal opinions on the constitutionality of this proposal. So these are our fiscal advisors to the legislature, to the Senate, and even in the shortened period of time acknowledging in clear print that this proposal has not been fully studied, not had a full legal analysis to see whether it's even constitutional. So members, it's not out of a lack of praise for the good work of the administration in reducing our pension liability. It's out of a concern that there is a due diligence that we should undertake on a proposal as significant as this. This is $6 billion. They're proposing to move from a pooled money fund over to CalPERS. And they make some suggestions like the savings that are going to come for CalPERS are just benefits that could only be accrued by CalPERS. If we wanted to change our investment practices for this pooled money fund, that That option's been before us for decades. If we thought that it was more prudent to invest more aggressively, we should consider that and evaluate it and weigh it for its strengths and weaknesses. The assertion is by transferring that money over to CalPERS and allowing them to invest it at a return that they estimate to be at 7%, even though we know that's high, 7%, that $11 billion can be saved for our retirement program. $11 billion. That certainly stops me in my tracks. But keep in mind that if we changed the same policy on investments for our pooled money fund, that assertion of $11 billion is money that would go to the general fund, or certainly to the pooled money fund and all those who have resources there. And so it's not a free good, that somehow this is an easy vote, not going to cost us anything. It's a guarantee. It's reflective of some of the suggestions that were made in 1999 when we changed the benefit packages for our public employees. Was going to cost us anything. Now look, I think there's a lot of sense to this proposal, but I don't think it's in our interest to just quickly pass it after a matter of weeks of introduction without the analysis that's required. And to suggest to us that the analysis will happen after the bill is passed is not a satisfactory reason for us to move this forward. And finally, let me say this. Because it's happening within the budget process, the suggestion is that the budget architecture is going to be damaged by delay. If we wait, we're going to create a big hole in our budget. But based on our hearing last week, it became clear that those savings projections, that budget architecture that would be impacted, are savings that would come in the out years, not in the year that's being proposed before us. So the consequences of delay are very, very small. A few months of analysis in a public setting so everybody can hear, not in a back room, can only be a healthy thing for us to be sure that this is the right course to take, because we know we have a problem. And so I would suggest that that delay, that time, is of value to us, and it's why I'm reluctant to support the bill today.